Jake, you were at a Kasparian. What's up?
We're going to have such a good show today.
I believe code name for today's show is going to be Hiya!
Only our members will know what that code word means, or what it's a reference to.
We're flying. Today we're code word 747. Oh, if you're not a member, you're missing out. Check out yesterday's postgame. TYTnetwork.com/subscribe. This month you get Mad as Hell DVD for free. You'd be mental not to sign up. Mental. Okay, speaking of mental, later in the program, Fox News gets very angry. Great Emily Blunt.
She's been a bad, bad girl.
Oh, she has. She's been naughty. All right. Spanking all around for everybody involved in today's program.
Oh, my God.
They're also...
Tensu. Okay, with the spanking.
All right. Adrian Grenier, that's the guy from Entourage. He's also in trouble with conservatives. Lots of people in trouble with conservatives today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the cavalry has arrived, and so we will fight back on their behalf. Okay. I knew there was one thing I wanted to tell you guys from the beginning. What are you, crazy? What's
waiting for this.
I know. Not a big deal. Put another streaming up on the board. Music culture, show your card.
That's bananas. We always win the People's Voice for Streamy Awards. We never win the award based on like their committee and what they like.
No, not just Streamies. Every award.
Yeah.
Every time we win, it's because you guys voted for it. You guys are awesome. So that's that's got two sides, right? So whenever there's a vote, the rest of the competition gets dispirited. They're like, oh, Young Turk's going to win that.
Yeah, for real. Sorry.
Sorry. Right? And that's because of you guys. And then whenever it came to like a committee of any sort, not to single out anybody, but all these different awards, like, oh yes, well I'm the fan, they're from the rabble or TYT, we could select someone with more money, right? But not this time around. All of a sudden, getting a little recognition. So, my acceptance speech was a little drunk.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it, and you look like you were rowdy as hell.
I didn't know that we were giving acceptance speeches. And by the way, check it out, the streaming show on VH1 on Thursday. I'm going to keep it real. We're not on that one. They have different categories. Last night we did all these categories, and then at YouTube Space LA. And then on Thursday night, we'll be there. Maybe you'll see us on TV on VH1. But they're going to give out awards in the other categories. And it's probably a good thing, because I didn't, if I gave the same kind of speech on TV, we get banned in 7 continents. Right? I came in I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but fuck yeah.
You said that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let alone the shade I was throwing at BuzzFeed.
I know. I mean, BuzzFeed's great. I don't know why you're throwing shade.
No, they're great. Oh, I guess they weren't great enough to win, though.
You're the worst! You're the worst. Anyway, damn.
I mean, that just came out. No, but that's okay. I mean, the poor guys, they only raised like $300-400 million. That we could, so what can I do? What can we do?
Those jabs, man.
I mean, if they raise another $300-400 million, maybe they can compete next time around.
Did they see those sucker punches coming?
I don't know. But there they are, so enjoy.
Okay.
BuzzFeed, by the way, is a good organization.
Yeah.
They're pretty smart. Okay. Anyways, thank you guys for all that you do. Thank you for getting us the recognition. And a yes in the car afterwards. Not only did I call Casper, because she threw shade at me yesterday for not calling her. Okay. And, but I also put in Drake. Started from the bottom.
Now we're here.
And then I put all my chains on.
Yeah.
I don't have any chains. Alright, for God's sake, let's do it.
Yes, alright. Bill O'Reilly is very upset that Bernie Sanders refuses to grant him an interview, so as a result, he called his good friend Jesse Waters to do an ambush of Bernie Sanders, and here's how it turned out.
But Waters wasn't through. Bernie Sanders used to appear on The Factor without a problem, but he has been dodging us, so we sent Waters to see him. Washington.
Hey, Senator Sanders, Jesse Waters with Bill O'Reilly. I just had a quick question for you, Senator. Yes.
I don't do ambush interviews. If you want to talk to us, there's my press secretary.
I do ambush interviews, and I just had a question for you. Excuse me, Senator. Don't push me.
No, I didn't get wrong.
I'm sorry. Now, Bill is upset because you haven't done the show, and you feel like you used to be a friend of the show. You're not so big time now that you can forget about your friends, right? Senator, I'm sorry. There are 3 stories. Okay. Senator, while I have you here, are you afraid of Hillary Clinton? Did you trust Hillary Clinton, Senator?
Yeah, do you mind?
Senator, O'Reilly's a little concerned that if you do become president, you might seize his house. Should he be worried? Alright, well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Maybe we can do this another time.
Wow, I'm super conflicted about that interview. You might be surprised that I'm conflicted on it.
Alright, I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
But it's such a perfect demonstration of how much of a provocateur Jesse Waters is, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you afraid of Hillary Clinton? Bill O'Reilly is afraid that you might seize his house if you become president. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right?
Yeah. No, so obviously that's the part that I find distasteful.
Right.
So first, let me defend him. I do, like Jesse Waters, I do believe in quote-unquote ambush interviews. And he was honest about it. He said, I do ambush interviews. That's what I do, right? I don't view them to be ambush. If you're a representative of the people and some reporter wants to ask you questions, he's got a right to ask you questions anywhere where it's legal to ask you questions. You can't come inside your house, right? But you're in the halls of the Senate. If he's allowed there, he's allowed there, right? I would want to do that to Republican senators, right? So I actually don't think that there's that much wrong with what he did. Now, the reason I'm conflicted on it is not because I like Bernie Sanders and I'm a progressive and I hate Fox News. No. They treat him like a joke.
Yes.
And hey, back up there for a second, because that's the leading candidate on the Democratic side. He's winning in Iowa. He's winning in New Hampshire. You don't like that? Washington doesn't like that. They like to just flat out ignore it. They still call Hillary the front runner. Which front runner is losing in Iowa and New Hampshire, right? And when you have such a monumental money advantage. Anybody with a money advantage, they just call the front runner because money should win, right? They love money so much. Sad day for you. It's not winning. Bernie's winning. So if you're going to come there and ask him hard questions about his policies, then I actually would be 100% on your side. But if you're going to come in there like, are you afraid of Hillary? And I'll bump into him and say, are you going to seize O'Reilly's house? Like, haha, he's a socialist and all this stuff. Well, then jackass, step out of the way and let a real reporter do their job. And it's okay. It could be a real conservative reporter. I would much, much prefer that than having you get out there and act like a clown and try to belittle a guy who's winning, who you obviously don't want to win. So you're trying to, feed the mainstream idea that, he's not going to win. He's a fucking joke. I'm going to seize people's house. I'll do anything I want to, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, there's some guys, they wouldn't do that to Hillary Clinton. They don't send Jesse Waters after Hillary Clinton. They don't send him after people that are higher up. It's funny, even Fox News, even with Democrats, has a pecking order for the establishment. And the ones who are in power, you want to be a little bit more careful with. And they think Bernie Sanders is not going to be in power so they can mess with him.
Right.
Well, you might want to rethink that.
And also, Fox News has a vested interest in turning Bernie Sanders or making it seem as though Bernie Sanders is some kind of joke. Because out of those two candidates, Hillary Clinton seems like the lesser of two evils in their eyes. So
Murdoch kind of likes Hillary Clinton. He said it on many, many occasions, and he owns News Corp. That owns Fox.
And that's of course according to some of the stances Hillary Clinton has had in the past when it comes to corporations and all of that. So Bernie Sanders doesn't, he pulls the punches or doesn't pull the punches when it comes to corporations, and Fox News doesn't like that. So again, they have a vested interest in going after him in that way. But I agree with you in terms of ambush interviews and so-called gotcha journalism. It is a reporter's job, a reporter's duty to ask the tough questions, but the questions have to have some sort of credibility behind them, some sort of honesty or truth behind them, and the questions that he was asking were just ridiculous, right?
Yeah, and so look, sometimes I'll get bombastic on air. I don't know if you've noticed. I might call Marco Rubio boy, because he is. But if I go to interview Marco Rubio, and I go to him, and I bump into him, and I'm like, hey, boy, tell me why you're a boy, or you're not a boy, right? But then that was a pointless, offensive, interview to do. But if I go up to Marco Rubio and I ask him about his immigration policy or how he's backing away from his own immigration policy, that's perfectly legitimate, and he should be able to answer that anywhere, anytime, if he's running for president of the United States.
Yes. Now, O'Reilly spoke to Jesse Waters in studio, in-house, and here's how their conversation about this whole encounter went.
That was just that we had called and called and called and called. So it wasn't like you're obnoxious, but we're obnoxious for a reason. Does he have a nice watch? I noticed he was checking his watch.
He checked it a few times. He did smile when I asked him about seizing your house.
Yeah, he
cracked
did
a
like
smile.
that, right?
I wanted to ask him if he has a secret server in his house, but I never got around to it.
Like that. So I don't know why. Bernie's always on the show, very straightforward. And now, as you said, he's big time, and he doesn't have time for us anymore.
I don't know why. Do you think he's going to come on the show now?
I don't care. But you know why he's not coming on?
Why?
Because he knows that some of his base doesn't like us.
Yes.
So he's being a politician.
Yeah, he'll be a traitor.
We liked Bernie when he wasn't a politician.
Yeah.
But now he's a politician.
Yeah, we don't like him anymore.
No, it's not good that he thinks he's going to win.
Right.
He thinks.
Oh, perfectly demeaning, right? O'Reilly throughout when he was introducing him at the end has that Cheshire cat smile, like Bernie, and like, he used to come on the show, but now he's just a standard politician. He thinks he's gonna win. Bernie. Oh God, on this alone. Oh man, President Sanders has such a nice ring to it.
It really is.
Oh, they wiped that fucking smile off of O'Reilly's face just to have him sit there like Bernie Sanders has won the presidency of the United States. Oh, I mean, like he might have a heart attack on air on that alone. Feel the burn. Right. Oh, look. Again, there's a lot of candidates that I like on the Democratic side. There's a lot I don't like, but. Man, I'd love for Bernie Notice to put Fox News on burn notice.
Yes.
Okay.
I have to be honest, I had very little interest in the election up until Bernie Sanders started gaining some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I thought it was going to be a repeat of the last election where you have two honestly lame candidates who aren't really going to do what we need them to do to change the course of the country. And now we have a politician who could change the course of the country.
Well, we've got two. We've got two politicians. One who could change it for the worse in a dramatic way, and one who could change it for the better, possibly in a dramatic way. Right?
So it goes.
Oh my God, they wouldn't even believe it. They could, if Bernie Sanders won, they wouldn't believe it. Roe would have them check that voting room that they have, the brain room at Fox News. They go. You remember how Megyn Kelly walked back there? She walked back there 7 times that night. They wouldn't believe it. Yeah.
All right. Carly Fiorina has released her latest campaign ad, and it's a response to comments that Donald Trump made in regard to her face. Now, if you don't remember what his comments were, he said the following: "Look at that face. Would anyone vote for that? Can you imagine that? The face of your next president?" Well, Carly Fiorina thinks that, people would like that face as the next president, and that's what she says in her latest campaign ad. Take a look. Ladies, look at this face. And look at all of your faces. The face of leadership. The face of leadership in our party, the party of women's suffrage. The face of leadership in your communities, in your businesses, in your places of work and worship. Ladies, note to Democrat Party, we are not a special interest group, we are the majority of the nation. This is the face of a 61-year-old woman I am proud of every year and every wrinkle.
Okay. I love how Carly Fiorina in the beginning said, I don't spend any time thinking about what Trump said. And then she went and gave that speech, and then they turned it into an ad. Apparently you spent some time thinking about it.
Yeah.
I also like the way that she wiggles her head throughout the speech, like, this is the face of a 61-year-old woman. Look at it. Okay, I mean, Trump is a madman to begin with. Who says fix your face in the middle of a presidential campaign?
I mean, he has no class. And it's crazy because Trump has this incredible ability to make me support a Republican candidate in a small way, right? I would never vote for Carly Fiorina. I don't think Carly Fiorina even has a chance in gaining the, Republican nomination. But I will say this. That ad, although it had no substance to it policy-wise, made me sit back and think, get it, girl, right? I was shaking my head too. Because whenever a female candidate is running, you gotta be honest, a lot of attention is focused on the way she looks, the way she acts, what she's wearing, all these really unimportant, irrelevant elements and components of her life. And so I don't care about what her face looks like. I care about her substance, and I care about what she would do for the country. I care about her ideology and her policy ideas. Trump focuses on those little things because he has no idea what his own policy ideas are, right? He just speaks out of his ass. So his attacks are ridiculous, and unfortunately they make me support Carly Fiorina in the smallest way.
So first, let me be honest and say I'm slightly on it. Well, I should put it this way. I have commented on people's appearances before, okay, in the political sphere. Now, I've largely continued to men. I don't know, do I hate men? Are the men's rights activists right? I don't know. Okay, but, so, I mean, I'm greatly amused by Bobby Schindler's rested and tanned slogan. Come on. But, I mean, that he brought on himself. Come on. And Marco Rubio is a boy. Okay, that's partly based on his policies and his demeanor, and partly based on the fact that he looks like a 12-year-old. So I'm keeping it real, so I live in a slightly glass house. Okay. Now, having said that, the reason that Trump looks at Carly Fiorina's face and makes a judgment call based on that is because Donald Trump is used to judging women purely on whether he would sleep with them or not.
Yeah.
That's his sole criteria. So to him, he's like, well, I wouldn't even sleep with her, so why would I value her in any way? Make her president, vote for her. I would never vote for her. The only way I vote in the case of women is whether I sleep with them or I don't sleep with them.
Yeah.
So I think that's the perspective he's coming from. That's why it's so offensive. Now, on to Fiorina's ad.
Just real quick before you mention her ad, it's just incredible to me that Donald Trump feels empowered to make comments about other people's appearances when his face looks like a hairy sphincter.
Oh.
Right? I mean, really. Right? Like, it's just incredible to me. Like, has he not looked in the mirror?
No. He thinks he's gorgeous.
And everything that comes out of his mouth it's fecal matter. So he's a perfect sphincter.
He's a perfect sphincter. Okay. Now, look, again, we're being super honest here about, we're Glass House. We're making a comment on Trump's appearance, right? But nonetheless, you look at it and you think sphincter, right? You're with me, right? No, I'm kidding. Okay. No, but the relevance behind that is he is so full of himself, and that ego is what drives him, and that's also what blinds him. In the issue of appearance, there's actually a substantive point to make there. He's so blinded by the fact that women are interested in him, forgetting that it's because he has all the money. He thinks he's good looking, so he sees that big flop of orange hair, or whatever it is, and he thinks nailed it, right? Whereas, like, you schmuck, they're in it for the money. The women who are attracted to you, okay, and honestly, super hot women, right? They were like, oh, yeah, they were like, well, you're walking by like, ooh, ow, man, that's hot, I gotta get some of that. No, that's how they felt about your bank account. You're so mired in your own bubble of yes men that you can't see through that, and that's dangerous in other realms as well. Now, to Fiorina's ad, you're right, Anna. It does make you go, yeah, right. But who does that do it for? So, could that drive her from 5? Well, actually, the average poll she's at is a little bit around 2.5%. Could it drive her to 7.5% because it gets some Republican women voters on her side? Yes. Could that be enormously helpful in the short run? Yes. Will she win with an ad like that on the Republican side overall? Hell no. When Republican men see that ad, they will think she's a Democrat. Now, she didn't say anything Democratic. She talked about church, she talked about business, but like defending women, I guarantee you they'll think she's a Democrat. Okay? So at the end of the day, unfortunately, by doing that ad, in the long run, Donald Trump wins again. So it's basically him saying, see, I told you she was a woman. She reminds everybody she is a woman, and Republicans don't like that, so they're not going to vote for her.
Yeah, that's an interesting analysis. I didn't think about that. But you're right. I mean, when you think about all the different policy ideas that Republicans have that involve women, it goes against women. They're against reproductive rights. They're against mandatory maternity and paternity leave. All of these little policies that would help women out, they're against. So it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and it's not just the policies. It's visceral. Like, so that whole female empowerment thing they despise to their core, right? So here she is, an empowered woman, even though she agrees with them on the policies, they think they give a fuck about policies. They're voting for Trump. His policy is, elect me, I'll be fantastic. I'll figure out all the policies when I'm in office. It'll make your head spin. I'll be that good at it. That guy is winning by a large margin. You think they give a shit about policies? They look at that ad and they go, woman, me no like. Not that they don't like women overall, but an empowered woman, a powerful woman, that's like kryptonite to Republicans.
Yep.
So it could help. You got to give her a little bump now, fine. But later, that would hurt her tremendously within the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And by the way, Ms. Fiorina, if you're going to run for president, it's the Democratic Party.
Yes, I know. It's so funny when they say Democrat Party.
Don't be a child, okay? That's the same thing Donald Trump would do. You know why they do this? Because the pollster told them a long time ago, you call them the Democrat Party because it ends with rat. And so it'll make people think that negative thoughts about Democrats. So instead of calling it the correct terminology, Democratic Party, call them the Democrat Party, right? And now all these children with no substantive thoughts in their heads. So Fiorina does the whole, I'm 61, I earned this, But the bottom line is, no, wait, you sucked at Hewlett-Packard and you got fired and you did a miserable job. Your policy positions are horrible. And you act like a child just like Trump when you say things like Democrat Party. So let's keep it real on that.
All right, let's move on to a very important story. How much money do family members have to pay in order to support someone who's been convicted of a crime and imprisoned as a result of that? Well, recently there was a study looking into the costs of having an imprisoned family member. And some of the costs are so outrageous that families have to either refinance their homes or take out huge loans in order to make ends meet. Now, according to this study that was reported by Think Progress, more than 2/3 of respondents said that their family's financial stability was damaged when a member was incarcerated. 2 out of 3 families had trouble meeting basic needs thanks to their loved one's conviction and incarceration, including half who struggled to afford food and another 48% who had trouble paying for housing. Now, I should note that this was a study done by Forward Together, the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, and also the Research Action Design.
The funny thing is, the conservatives look at that and go, oh, that's discredited. They care about human rights. Shouldn't we all kind of care about human rights? But as I look at this story, there's a lot of really interesting things that come out of it. Number one, the reverberating consequences and costs of our penal system overall. And we incarcerate more per capita than any other country. And so when we do it oftentimes for ridiculous reasons, including the war on drugs, which feeds so much of our prison population. So it's not just the cost the war on drugs has. It's the cost of imprisoning people. But it's not just the cost of imprisoning people, as this study shows you. That then affects their family throughout in at least 4 substantial ways.
Absolutely. So let me tell you exactly how it impacts them. So the average debt they incurred for court fees and fines alone is an average about $13,607, which would eat up nearly all of the $16,000 annual income earned by a family of 2 living at the poverty line. Now, keep in mind that those convicted of crimes and incarcerated are more likely to come from a lower socioeconomic status. So,
because if you're rich, you're probably going to get away with it.
You're either going to get away with it, or
you have the resource to be. Kidding aside, you have the resource to be able to hire a significant attorney or legal team. Yes, that would increase your percentages of being acquitted, right? But you can also bear that cost and have it not destroy your standard of living, right? Whereas, even if you're not at the poverty line, $13,607 is a ton of money for almost any family in America. That's not, forget the poor, also middle class. That's the devastating consequences. Oftentimes, you got to take out loans, you got to get another job to be able to do that. And that's just the first level.
Right. Now, also, keep in mind, John Oliver did a really great segment on this. He was talking about what a joke public defenders have become. Not the defenders themselves, but the whole notion of them, because they're so underpaid and they're so overworked that oftentimes they're not as reliable as what a rich person can do with his money, right? A rich person can hire a great attorney who would actually not be overworked, would actually fight for them and get them off on certain crimes. Public defenders, unfortunately, don't have the same resources as other attorneys. When you look at how much money they make, it's crazy. These people went to law school. They went through all the hard work, and a lot of them worked their way up to like $40,000 a year.
Yeah, I mean, look, for a lot of colleges now, for a lot of law schools, that's 1 year of law school. I mean, you go to law school for 3 years, you're going to be saddled with all this debt, and then you're going to become a public defender, not be able to pay it off. And also, public defenders are incentivized to settle. Plea. Just by the nature of their job, let alone in some areas where they're literally financially incentivized.
Exactly.
So, you really want to be at the hands of someone who has all the incentive in the world, as good an intention as they might have, to make sure you say, yes, I'm guilty of something, even if you didn't do it.
I know. It's crazy. So, to cover the cost of conviction, 20% of families took out a loan, while 9% had their wages garnished or tax refunds withheld to make payments. More than a third had to go into debt to pay for phone calls and visits alone. Now, keep in mind, the phone calls cost an insane amount of money. A lot of phone companies will charge a ton of money, like, let's say $4 a minute, right? Which families can't afford. That's a lot of money. And then on top of that, inmates will usually collect calls in order to communicate with their family members, and that's also very expensive. And in terms of visits, a lot of these prisons are 4 hours away if you're lucky, and so you have to pay a lot of money in terms of gas just to get there. Also, let me give you some more information about this. About half of the family members experienced negative health impacts related to the incarceration of their loved one, including post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, nightmares, and hopelessness. So then you got to deal with some medical costs as well. 20% missed or lost employment opportunities when trying to support an incarcerated family member. 10% of the respondents said young members of the family couldn't attend high school or go to college. Now, some people might look at this and say, well, tough nuggets, right? This person was convicted of a crime, they were imprisoned, and this is just what happens. But also keep in mind that we have this justice system that goes after low-level, non-violent offenders, right? People who are caught with possession of drugs. And so you get caught with some marijuana, and all of a sudden you're incarcerated as a result of that, and that has a ripple effect on your entire family. Now people are dealing with, health costs that are related to your incarceration. They're taking out loans. They're going into debt. It's a disaster.
So, 4 layers here to summarize. The trial costs you a ton of money. The person going to prison causes that family to lose income because he's not bringing in income anymore. And about half the prisoners used to make at least half of the income for their family. So that's a huge, heavy blow to deal with. Third of all, you've got the visitation rights, the phone bill that Anna's talking about. The averages are, normally you get charged about 4 cents if you're in the outside world, right, per minute. In prison, the average is $1.22. Look at the scale of 4 cents, $1.22, right? So that, and then the families have to pay that. Driving all the way, all these different costs that are involved. And then finally, not only the health effects that Anna mentioned, but in order to drive 4 hours each way to a prison, sometimes you got to take a day off from work. More lost income, right? And it piles on and on and on. So again, the guy's a murderer or rapist. You don't shed a tear. I'm right there with you, right? And so that's that he shouldn't have done that and put those costs on his own family, right? On the other hand, if we're unjustly imprisoning hundreds of thousands of perhaps millions of people, just like we did in the past, if we're having a beer in the past and now we're having a joint, right? And you add all those costs onto the burden of society, then you go, wait a minute, what are we doing to ourselves? Why are we doing this? So understand the full ramifications and the full cost of this silly, silly war on drugs.
And also, you got to keep in mind the costs associated with fighting against something that you were accused of, but you didn't actually commit, right? I mean, those costs lead to people going into debt all the time.
Let alone asset seizures, which we haven't even gotten into,
right,
where they can be like, okay, you had a joint in your car, I just took your car. The devastation of that impact, even if you don't get convicted, even if you don't go to trial, they can take your car. You'd have to sue to get the car back, and only like, what was it, we did a story, like 4% or 6% ever get their stuff back, right? So it's one cost after another. It's killing us. Stop it already. The war on alcohol was maniacal and destined for failure. The war on drugs is exactly the same. Okay, let's take a quick break here. When we come back, Republicans say mean things about Obama. I didn't see that coming, right? And then Fox News goes after some celebrities. And then we have some news about the boy, Marco Rubio. Okay, we'll be right back. And so I wanted to let you guys know that we're doing the debate coverage, so I don't want you to miss it. Okay, so that's Wednesday night. We're gonna end the second hour. So that's tomorrow night, obviously. We're gonna end the second hour a little early, and then pick up the coverage a little bit before the debate begins. It starts at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. So about 5-10 minutes before that. Theoretically 10, but you know us. 5 minutes before that, at 7:55 p.m. Eastern, we'll get it started. We'll give you a little preview of the debate. We'll watch the debate with us, and then during the commercial breaks, we're going to save a lot of our commentary for then. Make sure that you're watching us at that point, and then at the end of the debate, the biggest fail of the debate, biggest winner, biggest loser, we'll all decide that together. Okay, and today we're on Fire Talk, by the way. So if you want to talk to us today, go to firetalk.com/theyoungturks. They've got great audio and video. They're the masters at live streaming. Check out their live stream for everybody. And they've already responded to you guys' requests, making everything full screen, and the video quality is fantastic. So check it out on firetalk.com/theyoungturks.
All right. The North Carolina lawmaker is catching some heat for something he posted on social media that makes it seem as though President Barack Obama is being talked down to by Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's take a quick look at what Michael Special, and I think that's how you pronounce his name, posted onto his Facebook page. All right, so this conversation obviously never took place, but if you look at this meme, it looks as though Benjamin Netanyahu is telling Barack Obama, look, you Islamic son of a bitch, unless you give all your land back to Native Indians, I believe we refer to them as Native Americans, don't pretend to lecture Israel or Israelis about our borders when you can't control your own. And then it continues with a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, we kick ISIS ass, they never mess with us, they mess with you guys, and haha, you're a coward, yeah. That's the essence of it. Okay. Well, Israel doesn't bomb ISIS. We bomb ISIS. So actually, we're much tougher against ISIS because we've gone on over 2,000 bombing missions over ISIS. So you might want to get your facts straight on that. Number two, ISIS might not come after Israel because they're not the ones bombing them. We are, right? Besides which, the people that ISIS actually goes after are the people that are living right next to them, which are generally Shiites, Kurds, etc.
So what exactly does the Obama administration, and Obama specifically, need to do in order to support Israel more than they already do? Right? So I don't understand. Are right-wingers upset with Obama because he had the audacity to talk about, I don't know, not building more settlements in conflicted areas?
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, that leads to more hostility and conflict in the area?
No, they don't care. So, look, let's talk about what Obama's actually done for Israel, and even Netanyahu has acknowledged, well, that was one of the greatest things that we ever got from America, is Iron Dome, okay?
Yes, thank you.
And the defense forces, everyone involved in Israel's government said, thank you for Iron Dome, because it protects them from Hamas's rockets, and it's done a great job of protecting them. So, I think it's fantastic that we gave that to him. Obama did, and so it's great that they're protected that way. Perfect, right? Okay. Now, furthermore, has he cut any funding from Israel? Of course not, right? No, he's kept their funding, which is significantly higher than any other country. You know, conservatives love to complain about, we're giving out money to foreign countries. Well, the country we give the most amount of money to is Israel. And if you say, let's cut $1 of that, like Rand Paul suggested for a second, they're like, how dare you? We love foreign aid if it goes to Israel. So all this is non-substantive. The only two things that they, let's say 3 things that they are angry at Obama about over Israel. So what are they? Okay, that sounds like a lot, right? One, he said, hey, I want to help you get to peace. If you keep building settlements, that's going to decrease your chance of getting to peace. So I'm trying to help you by saying don't do that, right? And how dare you question Israel? Well, I mean, they're an ally of ours. We question Canada. At times we question Great Britain in order to help them, not because we hate Canada or Great Britain, right? And then number two, he did the peace deal with Iran, so Iran couldn't get nukes. Again, you would think that would be helpful to Israel, but Netanyahu is a right-wing maniac, like our Dick Cheney's a right-wing maniac. They hate any and all peace deals.
Yeah.
So if we hadn't done that deal, Iran would be on their way to getting a nuclear weapon, but warmongers like Netanyahu and Cheney would be thrilled with that. So we can go to war. So Obama prevented a catastrophic, possibly catastrophic war for Israel. Now, most Israelis should be thrilled about that, but the right-wingers are never thrilled when we have peace, and Netanyahu's a right-winger. And so is this idiot over here who's a right-winger on our side. And finally, Obama doesn't bow his head every time he talks to Netanyahu. He does, of course, sir, absolutely, sir. Anything you want, sir. Like he objected that Netanyahu came and slapped him across the face talking to our Congress while we were in the middle of those negotiations with Iran. Well, I wouldn't have bowed my head either. And I suspect a lot of Republicans would respect you less if you bowed your head, right?
Yeah.
So if Trump was like, oh, yeah, screw that, I don't bow down to anybody, they'd be like, yeah, Trump, what a strong leader. When Obama doesn't bow his head, they ironically say he's a weak leader. Really? How does that make any sense?
Yeah, and look, this is all, of course, misinformation that's being put out there about the Obama administration. They make it seem as though he's somehow against Israel, even though he's done everything that he could possibly do to help Israel, right? And for me, the worst part about it is painting Obama as this weak Islamic, like Muslim terrorist, right? When in reality, that's like the furthest thing that he could possibly be. Okay, you Islamic son of a bitch. How is Obama Islamic? You know that 1/3 of Americans think that Obama is a Muslim. And it's
over half of Republicans believe that.
Over half of Republicans believe he's a Muslim. 1/3 of Americans in general believe Obama is a Muslim. Obama's not a Muslim, but the reason why these people are misinformed is because you have these clowns like this North Carolina lawmaker spreading this misinformation about him. And it pisses me off to no end, especially when you consider the fact that American tax money goes toward Israel in order to support them in ways like Iron Dome, right? And it should, right? Because you want to protect people, they're our ally, and that's totally understandable. But how much more do we need to do in order to prove that we support Israel? This is a non-issue that Republicans keep bringing up that drives me crazy.
Yeah, and in this case, it's also deeply racist. Oh, I know, sound the bells. Oh my God, they're opposing us by calling us racist. Now, here, I'll tell you why. It's not just because he's a Democrat that they're going after Obama and call him an Islamic son of a bitch. When's the last time they called Bill Clinton an Islamic son of a bitch? Or Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
Or Bernie Sanders? Or any white Democrat? No matter how left-wing they are, Bernie Sanders is way to the left of President Obama. They never call him Islamic, right? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. He's white. Oh, right. That's right. You are a fucking racist. That's exactly what you are, Mr. Especial, okay? And so don't give me this bullshit about how you're going to cry if I call you the racist that you are.
All right, let's move on to a little bit of fun.
Okay.
Marco Rubio likes football, and apparently he put together a video where he talks about it. Let's take a look.
Did you get that?
Super Bowl pick this year.
My Super Bowl pick this year is the same one I've made for the last 40 years, the Miami Dolphins.
Super Bowl pick winning percentage.
I have never gotten a Super Bowl right.
Sorry. What's your fantasy football team name?
We've had different names. This year I think we're going to call it the Marco Polos.
More nervous before first presidential debate or first college football game?
I was more nervous before my first college football game because you were actually going to get hit. No one was going to hit me at the debate.
Most underrated president?
Probably Truman. I don't think we give him enough credit for the difficult decisions he had to make at the end of the Second World War.
Harder to recover, Hillary's emails or Tom Brady's text messages?
I think it's been harder to get Hillary Clinton's emails and a lot more meaningful was in those emails.
NFLer who would make the best politician?
Peyton Manning. He's a pretty good communicator. If not Aaron Rodgers.
Most important preparation for a big game or big speech?
Make sure that there's water nearby. Like right now.
Alright, I like that he poked fun at himself at the very end. All the football lingo, I have no idea what he was talking about.
I don't think he does either. I mean, they claim that he went on a football scholarship to school. They never say the school, so we had to look it up. It's Tarkio College.
Yeah.
Which, God bless the good folks at Tarkio, never heard of it before. So I only say that in regards to it's not like he was middle linebacker for USC. Okay, like I don't know what he played. He probably played water boy.
Well, we have. Oh my God.
For Tarkio College.
We actually have a play that he did from his football days. You want to take a look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Take a look.
That was at an Iowa event earlier this year. To be fair to him, it was a perfectly fine pass. It was a kid's fault.
But yeah, by the way, it was that kid he needs to work on his hands. But
He's like 4 years old.
hey, at 4 years old, if you're playing football, you can catch it.
Oh
So this.
I'm with you.
Go on, then.
Toughen up, kiddo.
There's no participation awards for that kid. Loser. So.
Okay, wait.
Insult
He
to
lost
injury.
me. I did not reject him.
Bootstraps. Those are bootstraps. Maybe he'll catch those. So
But look, I do agree with JR. Life lessons, man. What's the Republican going to do to you? Hit you in the head. You better get ready.
and he fell too, so he can't even pick him up. So anyway, I'm sorry. I looked up Tarkio College. He went there from 89 to 90, the 1 year on a football scholarship. I cannot pinpoint what position he played, but I mean, we're guessing maybe a quarterback, maybe a running back. It was a small school.
Dude, I don't
really
know,
small school. So
there's something fishy about that. I don't want to get too into it, but like, here's what politicians love to do. They're professionals at bragging, right? And so this guy, I went to football, I got a scholarship. Which position? You never mentioned which position. All right.
It was all over Tarkio's like history and stuff. It didn't have his name on that list, but everything said he played from 89 to 90. It was in the NAIA, so it wasn't NCAA. It was really small. It was like a community college type of thing.
Yeah.
And so they went 1-8 that year. And then the whole school went defunct in like 92. So 2 years later.
Oh, I love it. So Marco Rubio drove the school underground. No, he hit the school in the head like he did with that 4-year-old. All right, so now look, if you notice, there was no real specifics for a football fan there. Okay, now yeah, we're picking it apart, but he's the one that did the video. We didn't ask him to do the video, right? We didn't ambush him with a question about football, right? Football, right? Okay, who would be a great politician? Peyton Manning. Very, very bold.
No, he said that Peyton Manning is a good communicator. Is that true? Because from what I remember, you hate Peyton Manning.
Correct.
Right? And I remember you criticizing the way that he communicates specifically. I could be wrong about that.
No, he's great at saying Omaha. Omaha! Okay, all right, anyway. No, my distaste for Peyton Manning as a football player and a person is a different matter, but he is very likely to be a Republican prick. So Rubio was probably right in that pick. Aaron Rodgers... Be careful what you ask for. You might get something a little different than you think with Aaron Rodgers. But he picked like two of the best known quarterbacks. It's not like he was like, hey, here's my favorite safety in football or my favorite defensive end. Yeah. And then your fantasy football. You're going to name it the Marco Polos? That's like the first thing you'd ever pick in the first year, and you'd apologize to everybody for being not so creative.
Yeah.
Right? This is your how many year playing fantasy football? You're like, oh, this year I'll try the Marco Polos. Yeah, I dismiss you out of hand.
All right.
Sorry, there was a couple moments. I cut it up because it was like 2.5 minutes. But he mentioned Warren Moon was the most underrated quarterback. He mentioned the Jersey senator now, used to be mayor.
Cory Booker.
Booker, he said he said after me, he'd be the best football player that's a politician. I don't know. It's just, of course, Rubio's the first one.
Yeah. I'm going to let the Booker thing slide. Warren Moon's a good reference. God bless. I'll take Warren Moon as the most underrated quarterback. That's a good reference on his part. Nonetheless, overall, guilty. He doesn't know dick about football.
All right.
Okay.
Let's take a break.
Okay. I knew one other thing I want to say. One other thing about that Marco Rubio ad, he said, what's the president that doesn't get enough credit? Harry
Truman. Yes.
Yeah. Now, why Truman? Because he did some very brave things at the end of the World War. In other words, he nuked people.
Yeah.
So his favorite president, the only substantive thing in that video is, his favorite president is the one that dropped nukes on people. Ooh, hundreds of thousands of civilians died. Very, very brave. Now, look, a lot of people have strong opinions about that and think that that was necessary. Okay, it's a fine debate to have, but like that's the one guy you picked was the one who dropped the nukes. He was a Democrat. He still gave him credit because at least he dropped nukes. Okay.
Nothing bolder than killing a bunch of innocent civilians.
Yeah. It doesn't take courage to throw a punch. It takes courage to take a punch. But of course, Republicans will never learn that lesson. All right, youngsters.
Yes. It doesn't get much better.
Alright, back on the Young Turks, checking out with you. I got a lot of comments from firetalk.com/theyoungturks. So let's power through them. Sandra Fowler, from the beginning of the show, when we won the streamies, we're talking about that, says Jenk's ego is about to float away with him. It's possible. Keld Vizier writes, Anna in the first hour, flipping awesome.
Yay!
So now her ego is about to run away.
No, not true. I'm very humble.
Very. Wasikdid, which is an excellent handle, says, about the Jesse Waters interview. Is this not the gotcha journalism the right complains about?
Yes. Yes.
Nice job, Washington. Julia Mahoney writes in, burn, baby, burn, liberal inferno. I don't know that a liberal inferno is a good thing, but I kind of like the analogy nonetheless. Ben McFalls writes in about conservative logic. He says, this is the way they think. Who could vote for a woman that they wouldn't want to fuck? Right? And Ben, you're right. I mean, that's why they love Sarah Palin so much. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm turned on by her. I like her, yeah. Right? So,
and also, she was stupid, so she wasn't intimidating.
Oh, she's perfect for that, right? Jonathan Abramson writes in, Bibi is the epitome of the right-winger, talking about Netanyahu. He's deregulating everything in Israel, making life hell for low and middle classes, and then uses fear, racism, and war to win more elections. So now, Jonathan, you're absolutely right. That's the formula that right-wingers all across the globe use, right? And so we hate it when Bush does it, Cheney does it, Erdogan does it, Putin does it, all these guys. But somehow we're supposed to love it when Netanyahu does it. And so, okay, foreign policy is one thing, but look at the point that Jonathan's making. He's like, why would we like it if he's deregulating things? As liberals, don't we hate that? Like the deregulation, which allows the private sector to, socialize the losses and privatize the gains. So why does Israel have magical zone, like lack of logic, where it's like right-wingers that make no sense in domestic or foreign policy everywhere else in Israel are awesome?
Well, I feel like there are some people out there who will criticize you as an anti-Semite the second you criticize anything a leader in Israel does. And that's a little unfair, because I think that no one is above criticism, regardless of which country you're from or what your background is. Sorry. And if you want to call us anti-Semitic because we have the audacity to criticize Benjamin Netanyahu, then by all means, have fun.
Okay. Yeah. And by the way, you're not doing Israel any favors. So you want to drive them into disastrous policies because, I support Israel. I support Israel no matter what they do. Well, that doesn't help a friend. That doesn't help anybody, right? Your friend says, I'm incredibly drunk and high. I'm going to go drive. I support you no matter what. Go get him. Get in that car. And don't wear your seatbelt. See, I'm a friend of my friend, right?
Yeah.
No, that's not being a friend. Your friend tackles him, says, hey, let me drive. Let me help. Let me find a way to. But you're never going to talk sense to these people. I got all these hatchet job guys all across the internet now. And their theme is, every story we do on Turkey, I'm positive. Every Israel story I do is that. Every story on Turkey is positive? I haven't done a positive story about Turkey in as long as I can remember.
Wow.
Okay, the last time I think we did a positive story about Turkey is when the kids get run over by a truck and they stand back up. So, you're never going to be able to talk with them about reason and logic and rationale. And the ironic thing is, a lot of those guys think, you're unreasonable, I'm the reasonable one.
Yeah.
I saw where you went after Erdogan full blast. And I said, that's protest.
Amazing.
Okay, anyways, last two things here. AJ Waisaki says, JR has some badass headphones. That's a good plant by us. Monster soundstage.
I'm glad you mentioned it. They're monster headphones, rolls.
That's right. Not a big deal. 24K headphones in the control room.
I want those too. What the hell?
They really do look good. And they're sound stages all throughout the studio, and the sound in here is great. So thank you. Chris Labaco says NAIA football is for people who weren't good enough to not play D333 football, Division 3.
What does that all mean?
Okay, that just means if you ride the bench at Tarkio College, you couldn't suck more.
Wow.
There's some chance that my high school football team would have beaten Rubio's Tarkio College team. In fact, there's an excellent chance. We were ranked in the country, not a big
Oh my God. Okay, so we have one more story for the first hour before this gets out of hand. All right. Recently, actress Emily Blunt was talking to the Hollywood Reporter about the fact that she is now a citizen in the United States. She was born in London, so she had to apply for citizenship, and recently she was granted citizenship. But she said something that upset some people. Okay, so take a quick look at what she had to say, and then we'll get Fox's reaction to it. I became an American citizen recently, and that night we watched the Republican debate, and I thought this was a terrible mistake. What have I done?
See, she's kidding around about it, but she is obviously not in favor of the Republicans and was horrified at the debate, as many of us were. Outrage. How dare you be progressive? Fox News will come in full blast. By the way, let us note for the record before you watch Fox and Friends that Donald Trump is "Let's make America great again." That's his slogan. In other words, and he talks about it all the time now, America sucks now. That's the whole point of Donald Trump's campaign. America's miserable. We suck at negotiating with the Chinese. We suck at maintaining our borders. We suck at the economy. We suck at the military. We're the worst. We're the worst. We're the worst. But I'm going to make us great again. And you're complaining that somebody else complained about America when you guys are having, an orgasmic reaction to Donald Trump? All right, let's watch Fox and Friends.
Well, she goes on to say this about becoming an American citizen. I'm not sure I'm entirely thrilled about it. People ask me about the whole day. They were like, oh, it must have been so emotional. I was like, it wasn't. It was sad. I like being British. Well, you know what? Then why don't you leave Hollywood, California, and let some American women take on the roles that you're getting? Because Americans are watching your movies and lining your pockets. She's been in the movies like Devil Wears Prada.
Actually, I agree with you, Anna, too. She went on to say, the thing is weird. I get to keep both my British citizenship and American citizenship. You have to renounce the Queen. So it's kind of typically American. Not to be rude, but I had to renounce her in the room, but I don't actually technically renounce her. They were like, just say it. You don't have to mean it, just say it. Why is that typical American? You know what Emily Blunt just did? She just Dixie chicked herself. She has alienated half the country that now will think twice about going to one of her movies. Right? I actually didn't know who she was. I got to go to one of movies. Right. You've seen her in movies. Right. I'm sure she... okay, well, congratulations. You're an American citizen and you're very unhappy.
Okay. So, Fox News is criticizing people for alienating half the country. Let that irony soak. Okay.
Also, actions speak louder than words, right? So saying something like that, which obviously she was joking about, is one thing, but your actions prove whether or not you really are patriotic or whether or not you really do love America, right? So I love America, which is why I'm okay with paying my fair share of taxes and helping fund things like public education so I don't close the door behind me after I become successful, right? I believe in giving back to communities to make sure that other people have the same types of opportunities I had to become successful, to become great, whatever it is. Fox News is against that, right? Fox News believes in individualism. They don't believe in working together. It's every man out for himself. And so for me, I think that that's way more un-American than what Emily Blunt was joking about.
And I'll go further than that because Emily Blunt chose to be an American, which is actually the most patriotic thing you can do. And so those are her actions. So Brian Kilmeade, Kumian, and Ducey presumably were born somewhere in America, and so it was just happenstance. I guarantee you that if they were born in Netherlands or China, they would be just as jingoistic about that particular country. So it's not like they chose to be American. If they were born in China, I guarantee you Kilmeade would be like, China, #1, right? So whereas Emily Blunt said, look, I love being British, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you came from Italy and you love being Italian, that's great. You come from wherever you might come from, and you're proud of that. You're proud that you were Mexican, but you love America so much you chose to become an American citizen. That should be celebrated and the most patriotic thing you can do. And so these people are like, oh yeah, but I didn't like her comments about America and then the Republicans. So, because really, this was about. She was talking about how the Republican debate was horrific. That's right. But you know what? People who are not Republicans also get to become citizens. So that's a sad day for you guys.
Sorry. Also, they never criticize those who want to secede from the United States, particularly those living in Texas, right? So currently there's the Texas Nationalist Movement, and they're seeking signatures for a petition so Texas can secede from the United States. Has Fox News run a segment on that? Are they very critical of these very un-American people that no longer want to be part of this great nation?
I mean, you want to talk about actions. and a lot of Republican politicians in Texas have hinted supported this. Others in conservative circles and pundit circles have hinted support at this. That's, again, literally the most un-American thing you could do to say, I hate America so much I want to leave it. Okay, and then second of all, Fox News often defending the Confederate flag as part of heritage, right? Those guys are fucking traitors, okay? The Confederacy betrayed America and fought a war against us and killed Americans, right? You don't get any more un-American than that. So please spare me your outrage about an actress who didn't like the Republican debate. So now all of a sudden, she's alienated so much of the audience. I mean, what would Fox News know about that?
They love punching down. You just do, right? Going after celebrities instead of the actual people who are un-American.
Yeah. All right, that's the first hour for you guys. When we come back, a brilliant host joins me for the second hour. Oh no, it's still Anna. What is this? All right, we'll be right back. Back on the Young Turks. They're having too good a time in the control room there. Pause your headphones. Jeez, Lord mercy, you got a lot of shine in there. And that looks good. Okay. Member shoutouts. Heidi Holger is member number 2853. Calvin Doherty is member 3419. Studio shoutouts from our donor wall. Reed A. Capelli and Thomas and Sharice Dowling. So Reed, Thomas, Sharice, we love you guys. Thank you for the studio. Appreciate it. And I'm going to just read one comment from firetalk.com/The Young Turks, where you should watch us live today. TYT Live is better than fucking new episodes of Saturday morning cartoons. I love this shit.
Wow.
Hey,
that's a hard competition to compete with.
That's an excellent comment, Dustin. We really appreciate that. There's a guy who, when he was young, got his strawberry Nesquik ready, watched his Saturday morning cartoons, and then wrestling, and then Abbott and Costello.
You preferred strawberry Nesquik?
I did.
Fascinating.
Yes. I can appreciate what a significant compliment that is. Thank you. Oh, and the McLaughlin. Okay. Now, how do you like that for?
It's a weird mix.
As Bush used to say back in the day, now, I've got an eclectic Saturday morning rundown.
You just reminded me of something.
I did.
So on Friday night, a small dream came true. Okay.
Wow.
So I haven't seen it yet, but a bunch of people tweeted to me to let me know that ABC's 2020 used one of our clips featuring me in their show.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And 2020 was the show that convinced me to, enter the field of journalism.
Really?
So, yeah. I mean, I wish I saw it. I don't have TV anymore, so I never watched 2020 anymore.
What a telling story about the state of media.
I know.
Right?
I know.
What clip did they use?
I don't know, but that reminded me, and now I'm going to go look it up. If anyone somehow recorded it and you can tweet it to me or something, I would love you forever. I really want to see it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Felt like I had a thing to say about that, but whatever it was, I'll save it for the post game. Did I mention that this month would be a good month to sign up? TYTnetwork.com/subscribe. Get a free copy of Maddie's Hell. My problem is I think we're going to sell out all the copies we have, and we're not going to make any money on those Maddie's Hell DVDs. Well, we wouldn't make the money anyway, so. No, we would, because we bought them.
They don't care about all that.
I know, but I'm bitter that you guys are going to sign up for membership, get a great deal, and then I'm not going to recoup any of the cost of the fucking DVD.
Right.
So come and rob me this month and get a free copy of Maddie's Hell DVD.
You're killing me, Larry. Okay. All right. Entourage's Adrian Grenier is facing criticism for something that he posted on 9/11 on his social media account. Now, on Instagram, he posted the following image, and people were not happy about it. It says, "Rest in peace to the 2,996 Americans who died on 9/11. Rest in peace to the 1.4 million innocent Iraqis who died during the U.S. invasion for something they didn't do." Now, what's interesting is what he posted is factually correct, but people didn't like it. He got a lot of criticism. I'll give you some examples, okay? Graphic number 3. One person said, "Don't think I'll be watching another movie he's in after he made this posting on Instagram and deleted it." Now, he did delete it after he got a lot of criticism, right? Mm-hmm. He replaced it with something much less controversial. Let's take a look at graphic number 2. All right, so you see the first responders.
Okay.
Okay. Another person said, "Wow, I can only imagine how the 9/11 victims' families feel. Today was not the day. Today is their day. Have some class." And another person wrote, "You are low-life liberal scum, idiot. Why would you post shit and disrespect everyone who died on 9/11?
Okay, so, of course, let's note for the record that conservatives like Glenn Beck were the ones who said the biggest problem was the 9/11 families because they were crying too much and whining about not getting something from the government. Okay, not about the day itself, but it was some policy position where the 9/11 families wanted some degree of accountability. And Beck was talking about, are they going to keep crying about this, right? So don't talk to me about disrespecting the 9/11 families. You want to talk about 9/11 in general? How about the first responders who the Republicans didn't want to provide health insurance for, right? Until Jon Stewart embarrassed them into voting yes. They were all voting no. Right, 9/11, that's a punchline for us. That's a political gimmick for us. That's propaganda for us. That's for our own political purposes so we can invade countries like Iraq that had nothing to do with 9/11, right? But if you actually want to help the first responders or the 9/11 families, the Republicans and conservatives have no interest in it. No interest, okay? So on this actual first post, I love it. It's 1,000% right. Look, the numbers on how many Iraqis died, that could be debated all day and all night. That's one legitimate number. There are other legitimate numbers. So on the substance of it, it's the perfect time to point out that we invaded Iraq for no reason because it was not connected to 9/11. So when would you like him to make that point? On 9/12? On 9/13? All right, we could make it a day of mourning every year, the day that we invaded Iraq in 2003. I think it was March 19th. You want us to all go crazy at that point? Hey, remember what idiots the Republicans were? And by the way, they now admit it. All the Republican candidates, Jeb Bush got in trouble for not admitting what a moron his brother was for invading Iraq. Now they all say it was a mistake when they were all in favor of it. Oh, that's what you want us to do. You want us to not talk about it because of your grotesque failures, right? What a tremendous mistake it was. And you know that the Republicans used 9/11 as an excuse to invade Iraq and have all those people die. So that's why you don't want us to talk about it. Not because you're so offended by the sanctity of the day of 9/11.
I think the worst part about this is you're not hearing from Republican talking heads who are criticizing him as a result of that post. These criticisms are coming from his fans, right? Average, everyday Americans who saw that and they got very, very offended by it. And that part bothers me the most because these are people who are being confronted by a fact, and it's a fact that makes them uncomfortable, so they immediately reject it. You're not supposed to immediately reject evidence that goes against what your preconceived notions are. What he posted was right. We invaded a country that had absolutely nothing to do with 9/11. And as a result, we put our own soldiers at risk. We killed innocent civilians. It led to a number of different issues when it comes to our foreign policy, and it should be criticized. It's something that we should hold politicians accountable for. But unfortunately, we live in a country where some people are just brainless drones who don't like to think for themselves, and they love to be outraged and offended by every little thing. How about we put the, oh my God, I'm offensive truck, behind us and actually focus on the details? Like, people are always pissed off about things that conflict with their, preconceived notions. And so in this case, all these people that are criticizing him are idiots, and they should accept the fact that what he posted was true.
I didn't know there was an I'm offended truck.
I don't know. I was trying to come up with something clever, but I couldn't because I was all heated.
I liked it. It's a whole truck full of offended.
No, I meant to say bandwagon, right? Offended bandwagon. And that's the whole thing that you see in social media right now, especially Twitter. People are looking for something to be outraged about. And what he posted is not worth being outraged about. It's something worth looking into if you might disagree, and then realizing that your disagreement is stupid because what he posted was true.
So, look, the final thought on this is that this whole idea of conservatives and their fans, I'm not even see your phobia anymore. You know what it always reminds me of is the Disney band that the Families for Families who love straight people but hate gay people families groups all came out. Oh, Disney, you don't hate gays as much as we do. You tolerate your gay employees and you give them rights. How dare you? We're gonna ban you. Disney grew bigger and bigger and bigger until like 13 years later they quietly sent out a memo. We're no longer banning them. I want to take my kids to this. So sad. So sad. Okay.
What are you gonna? So your kid goes, I want to go see Frozen 2 because by the way I heard that they're mad about Frozen 2 before it's ever come out. They're gonna see Frozen 2 and then you keep your kid from the opening weekend. Then they keep hearing the songs. Then they start seeing the toys. Then they see the commercials. You be like, yeah. So you're a 5-year-old. Yeah, no, not going to see it. Are you really going to hold on to that? Or are you going to take your kid 5 times and then go, I'm not taking my kid. I didn't do it once. That's what's going to happen.
Well, in the immortal words of Frozen, I say to the Republicans, let it go. Let it go.
By the way,
so apparently we both have by the ways. I can say the same thing for myself. Every time I drive by a Chick-fil-A, I'm like, Really, I'm the last man standing on this fucking band?
Yeah, you kind of are.
Okay, anyway, yes.
My point was much less important. I don't know what his like status is, but he's fucking hot, man. I don't know if I'm gonna be single anytime in the future, but if I am, we can call. I mean,
Yeah, okay, I hear you.
we don't have to make it official. I mean, we could just have some fun. I'm just saying.
She's just saying, Adrian. She's just saying.
So good looking. Okay.
I think that was the point of the whole thing, why he was the star of that show, because he's supposed to be really good looking or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I guess, whatever. Okay, let's go for it.
All right, got all hot in here. All right. The Miss America pageant asked some of their contenders some really hard questions, and fortunately, Miss Tennessee had a great answer when she was asked about Planned Parenthood and whether or not Congress should cut funding for the organization. Now, here's what she had to say, and I'm really proud of her. She's 21-year-old Hannah Robinson, and she said, "I don't think Planned Parenthood funding should be cut off. The $500 million that gets given to Planned Parenthood every single year goes to female care. It goes for scanning for cancers, it goes for mammograms, and if we don't give that funding to Planned Parenthood, those women will be out of health care for reproductive causes." Now, she got a little bit of criticism from women like Dana Lausch, and she said that the answer was horrific by Miss Tennessee. She falsely claimed that Planned Parenthood performs mammograms, #Miss America. That wasn't a horrific answer. And yes, she's right in the fact that Planned Parenthood does not do mammograms, but I should note that Planned Parenthood does refer people to clinics that do mammograms. Okay, so that's also very important, because for women who don't have health insurance, you can't just show up somewhere and be like, "Yo, I want a mammogram." It's much more complicated than that. So Planned Parenthood helps women with that as well.
And they do a ton of breast exams.
Yes, they do.
So she's generally right about the service that Planned Parenthood provides. So, of course, Dana Lausch doesn't like an answer, not because of the specific factual points in there, but because she's a Republican and conservative. She's like, take away women's right, Planned Parenthood, contraception, every sperm is sacred. Horrific answer. That's actually one of the smartest answers, whether you agree or disagree, that I've ever seen in one of those pageants.
Yes. I like that they asked some tough questions during this pageant. Look, I didn't watch it at all, but I did read about some of the answers that the women gave, and there was one contestant who, commented on Donald Trump and how disastrous he is for the Republican Party, and I was like, "Oh, get it, girl, you know what you're doing." Yeah,
I mean, I love Miss Tennessee here, with a nice, solidly progressive answer, and so I like all this. Yeah, but you know what? People like Dana, she loves to cry. And there's the conservatives who actually are the PC police, right? Mm-hmm. So the minute anyone puts out an opinion they don't agree with, not that that's offensive, there's the overwhelming majority of Americans are in favor of Planned Parenthood. It's not like an offensive opinion to have, right? All they have to do is disagree with it. Not like it was racist, not it was bigoted, not it was sexist, not it was anything, right? So I don't like it. I just horrible, horrific answer. I can do that. How could you have a political opinion outside of me? I'm so offended. You see how the liberals are PC police? Well, so she's not. They asked her a question about Planned Parenthood. She gave her a genuine opinion on the matter. Mm-hmm. What did you want her to do? Give your opinion instead?
Yeah.
God, they love to cry. They love to cry so much. They love playing the victim and then pretending that liberals do the PC stuff.
And it's also very easy for someone like Dana Lausch to completely discredit, disregard, belittle an organization like Planned Parenthood because she comes from a privileged place, right? She doesn't have to worry about having access to health care as a woman, right? She doesn't have to worry about being able to afford something like a pap smear or an STD test. She's in a very privileged position. So why don't you take yourself out of your little privileged bubble for once and understand the lives of other women who can't afford the things that you can afford?
So I don't have any problems at all getting care as a woman because I'm wealthy. What are the rest of the rabble complaining about? I find their answer horrific. Okay, by the way, Miss Tennessee did not win overall, but she did win the audience vote. She won the title of America's Choice. So apparently the audience loved her answer. And a lot of people in America agree with her. In fact, a hell of a lot more people agree with her than Dana Lausch. So go ahead and be offended all you like, but it ain't going to help because you're on the losing side of this as usual.
Recently, Jerry Seinfeld and a number of other comedians, including Chris Rock, Jay Leno, and Bill Maher, said that they will no longer perform stand-up at colleges because of the political correctness that's forced upon them. Well, Vanity Fair wanted to ask comedian Sarah Silverman about this and kind of get her point of view, and her answer was a little different. Take a look.
Everyone's going to be offended by something, so you can't just decide on your material based on not offending anyone. But I do think it's important as a comedian, as a human, to change with the times, to change with new information. I don't think there's anything wrong with changing with the times. I think it's a sign of being old when you are put off by that. I caught myself a few years ago fighting gay. I say gay, like that's so gay. I just say gay. I have gay friends. I don't mean it like gay. I mean it like it's gay, like it's lame. And then I stopped myself and said, what am I fighting? I have become the guy from 50 years ago who said, I say colored, I have colored friends. It's not hard to change with the times.
Damn, that was a really strong answer, right?
Yeah.
So, because a lot of times people accuse people who are on the left of being like, oh, you're just being PC and you're wishy-washy and stuff like that. She went completely the opposite way. She's like, no, I'm not the wishy-washy one, you are, right? I'm telling you, it's not that hard. Figure it out, right? So sometimes things weren't offensive before, and they are today. And, I mean, you go down the list, and I've talked about this a lot. When I was growing up, yes, unfortunately this old, the word Oriental was not offensive at all, right? And then, magically, I remember the year, 1988, it instantly became offensive, and you had to say Asian from then on. And I'll be honest with you, and back then I'm a Republican, I fought it for 1 year, and then I surrendered. I was like, well, if people are going to get offended by it, well, I don't want to be a dick, right? So I didn't think it makes sense, the difference between those two words. They're identical words. But if I'm going to piss off a whole community, maybe I should change with the times, right? And she makes the same point here and goes, it's not that hard. That's a really fair and interesting point.
I really liked her answer because she gave a clear example of what she was referring to, right? Because if she didn't give that example, then it just seemed like she was calling these comedians old for refusing to perform at colleges. But, as she was saying that, I thought about it in my own context as well. And Jake, I had a similar, well, I wouldn't say similar experience because I never really used this word to begin with. But when I was growing up, people would throw the F word, not fuck, the other F word, around all the time. And it it didn't have the same, visceral reaction that people have today, right? And so if you use that word today...
It did for gay people, we just didn't know it.
We just didn't know it, exactly. And so now that word is condemned, and it should be condemned, and you have to kind of change with the times. However, I kind of have a different point of view when it comes to political correctness on college campuses. I think political correctness has, in some ways, run amok on college campuses, where you're supposed to allow an environment for different ideas, and definitely ideas that conflict with your own, because you need to be a well-rounded person who understands different perspectives. So recently, President Obama was at a town hall in Iowa, and he talked about this specifically, and here's what he had to say, and I think he actually gave a good answer. He says, sometimes there are folks on college campuses who are liberal, and maybe even agree with me on a bunch of issues, who sometimes aren't listening to the other side, and that's a problem too. I've heard some college campuses where they don't want to have a guest speaker who is too conservative, or they don't want to read a book if it has language that is offensive to African Americans, or somehow sends a demeaning signal toward women. I gotta tell you, I don't agree with that either. I don't agree that you, when you become students at colleges, have to be coddled and protected from different points of view. I agree with him on that. So recently we did this story about a freshman at Duke University who refused to read a book that was assigned to him because it went against his conservative morals, right? And I was very critical of him because I said, look, you are entering a college environment where you are supposed to be exposed to different perspectives. And the same goes for liberal students. I don't like that liberal students protest a conservative speaker who's supposed to come on campus and do their thing. Allow them to make their points, allow them to expose you to a point of view that maybe you disagree with, but if you disagree with them, it's your job to argue. I mean, I think that makes you a stronger person in terms of debating these issues, and I think it makes you a well-rounded individual. That's what college is about. It's not supposed to be a liberal think tank.
Mm-hmm. So I totally agree with that. So President Obama has a way of oftentimes making the other side's point, which drives me crazy. And it's his way of doing balance. Okay, we think this, but then they think this, and I'm 50-50, right? But in this case, he's absolutely right. When he says, look, I don't want conservatives to shut down anything on college campus. Ben Carson's talking about doing litmus tests for bias at universities. He's like, what would be in the test, right? So then you would impose your political thoughts on people, right? And that's no good either. But he's like, imposing liberal thoughts is not the right idea in college either. Totally agree. So now I think the answer is balance. And by the way, people ask me all the time, why was I a Republican when I was younger? One of the reasons was my experience in college, where the PC police are not new, and they are real, right? Now, what doesn't get talked about enough is the PC police on the conservative side who are offended at everything. Oh my God, my Christianity! Oh my God, you offended my God, my this, my that! Oh, I'm so offended. Right, so both sides have their PC police, and it is real. Mm-hmm. And when I was in college, yeah, they didn't. They didn't let me speak on an issue. And this is the most ironic thing in the world.
It must have driven you crazy.
I know, right? So we were talking about if we should have a harassment policy that limited speech, and in the debate for that, they limited speech. They shouted me down, and the president of the university was there. He didn't do a goddamn thing about it.
Wow.
Okay, it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It's the antithesis of what an education should be: open and fair. So Sarah Silverman is right, President Obama is right, but they're both right? So on the one hand, there is a political correctness, and it does go too far. On the other hand, we could also all adjust and understand each other's points.
Yes.
So if somebody's saying to Jerry Seinfeld or the other comedians, hey, here's why we think this is uncool, you should hear them out. If they don't want to hear you out and they drown you out, they shout you out, or they don't want to have a conservative speaker, then they're wrong, right? The answer is balance. Also, not relating to me, I remember we had one of the Contras that came to speak at our school, right? Nicaraguan. And now the Contras are bad guys, and they had legitimate rights to protest. But protest them, then let him speak. But they shouted over him until he couldn't speak anymore and left. Well, I was interested in hearing his point of view, even if I wanted to be against it and argue against it. I don't know what to argue against because you didn't let him speak.
Right, and also another thing that's really, really important for students to understand, yes, on most campuses, I think that students are predominantly liberal, right? Mm-hmm. But you shouldn't be the arbiter of what type of ideology is allowed on that campus, because there might be students there are likely students there, that don't agree with your political ideology, and they should have someone that represents them speaking for them as well. You see what I'm saying? So I hate that type of censorship on a college campus, whether it's conservative or liberal.
So finally, look, the reason why we're progressives is because we believe in logic and progress and being open-minded. So conservatives are in the don't change anything camp. They're more in the authoritarian camp. I like my traditions and I want to hold on to them, right? Progressives are open-minded. So if you say to anybody, I don't want to hear what you have to say, or I'm going to shut you down, I'm not going to let you talk, you've already signaled surrender and weakness. When in reality, you should welcome them into the open marketplace of ideas and then destroy them. Because that's the same mistake religions make. And at this point, Islam most of all. Don't speak out against Islam. Don't draw the cartoons. Don't say anything about Islam. But what you're signaling to the rest of the world is, we can't really defend our position. That's why we don't want you to talk about it.
Right.
Whereas if you were open and confident that Allah is right and Muhammad was his messenger, or Jesus was the prophet, or your liberal position is correct on campus, well, you would love an open debate because you're going to win it.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, a Houston zoo is forced to allow guns. We'll tell you why.
the sex robot story, so I know, it's too good. Okay, guys, so here's a couple more comments from Fire Talk today. Okay, I'll start with Jonathan. Jonathan Abramson again says, Lausch means eavesdrop in German. Not really pertinent, but true. I kind of like it. I don't even know if we're saying her name right, but anyway, Danny Weir says, Trump ruined beauty pageants anyway. Chris Simmons then responds, Trump ruins everything. Okay. I'm really amused by the Fire Talk back and forth.
I read an article that he sold Miss Universe today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard something about that. Okay, anyways. Roar says, how can they decide Miss Universe when nobody from other planets compete? Nice job, Roar. Nice job. It's like when we say, World Series.
Yeah.
Who invited the Japanese? It's like such a wonderfully jingoistic thing that America does. World Series with just us. Fuck the rest of the world. All right, Sandra Fowler, one more time. She says, can we all just get the Chrome extension that replaces the words political correctness with treating people with respect? It really changed the way you look at the news. I hear you, Sandra, and that is very often true. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes politically correct people don't treat others with respect. They shout them down. Mm-hmm. Right? So it depends on the context. You're probably right, I don't know, 60 to 80% of the time. That number I'm looking for would be 70%. Okay, but sometimes that's not the case. All right, let's move forward. We got a lot of fun stories for you guys.
All right. The Houston Zoo was forced to take down a sign indicating that no guns are allowed at their park after it was basically made aware to them that they are not allowed to ban guns in the park. Now, it is a privately owned zoo. However, that doesn't seem to matter. Even though the zoo is privately owned, a local gun rights attorney pointed out the zoo sits on city-owned land. Being on public land means the zoo cannot ban guns on the property. So, as a result, they're forced to now allow people to go into the park with concealed weapons, as long as they are lawfully allowed to have the concealed weapons.
Yay! That's a funny graphic. Okay. We can have guns everywhere in Texas. It's going to be great. Remember the Alamo? We're going to do it every day. So, now these guys, a lot of times, they say they need their weapons for hunting. Well, what better place than the zoo, right? I'm kidding, although some people won't take it as a joke. But I'm not kidding in saying this. At some point, one of these clowns is going to shoot an animal. Mark my words. I'm predicting it right here on the show. Okay? Because it's, I thought that bear got a little close to my little one. So I take matters into my own hands out there. Self-defense, you know what I'm saying? They gotta shoot somebody.
It's a zoo. Just go have some fun, right? But put your gun in the car, lock it up, go into the park, have a blast. I don't understand why you
want to have a blast.
Well, I don't understand why you need to have a weapon like that on you while you're with your family. There's kids around. You're at a zoo.
Who thinks zoo? And I can't wait for this.
But that's the thing. They'll make the argument that, hey, you know what? I just want to have it on me in case something happens. I want to protect myself. But what about all the people who are uncomfortable knowing that there are people in that park with guns? So, for instance, a lot of, patrons have responded to this, and not all of them are happy about it. A lot of them are uncomfortable with the fact that there will be concealed carry within this park. One person says, why would you want to bring a gun to the zoo? I mean, that's kind of crazy. Another person says, I probably won't be coming here anymore, but probably bad for them. Like, these people don't want to deal with it, and unfortunately, they're going to have to because this gun rights attorney decided to look into this and realize that, hey, they're not allowed to ban guns. I don't know.
Anna, you don't understand how dangerous them penguins can be, or the giraffes. When I see a giraffe, I think, I get that they're not intending to shoot the animals. Yes, I'm messing with them. Okay, what we're really worried about is, in the crowded atmosphere of you name it, any amusement park, zoo, etc., people bumping into one another, everybody's cranky, gotta wait on lines, right? All this stuff. And then half the people have weapons on. Oh, it's a recipe for disaster. But you're never going to convince them, because they think that weapon makes everybody in the zoo so much safer. Because they're, I was going to say Crockett or Tubbs. heroes, and they're going to jump in. You know, if anyone is too unruly, there's a bad guy, and they're bearing down on them. All right. Anyway, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, I'm ready. Okay, and then they're going to get the gun, and then they're going to shoot the bad guy, and they're going to be the hero. This is a movie that plays out in their mind the whole time. And we've showed you studies where that doesn't happen at all. They can't pull the gun out. You know, ABC did a
2020 special, yes, from years ago, and everyone in the country was outraged at it. But they're doing studies. They're showing you what happens.
So when a gunman actually walks in, no one can pull the gun out in time and shoot him. They get killed almost every time, and some of the time they shoot the wrong people.
Yeah.
Okay. But so look, there's different studies, and that happened to be the one that 2020 did, etc. Right? But overall, you're not Chuck Norris. Okay, you're not either of the Crockett boys. Okay, and so bring it down. You don't have to bring your gun everywhere. And can you not understand that some of us don't want your gun near our kids?
Yeah, but
we're not going to the zoo for ourselves. We're going for our kids. Because what if you drop the gun? Oh, no, you're not going to because you're the most responsible person in the world. How about if the other knucklehead drops the gun around my kid or your kid, right? Guns always make us safer. Except for the absolute fact that it doesn't. It makes America the country where you're most likely to die by gunfire because we have the most guns. And that study's been proven over and over and over and over and over, and it's a stone cold hard fact. Oh, no, man, my gun will keep us safer, even though that's never really happened in the history of the world.
So we asked you guys to chime in on this. There is a poll in the TYT app. Let's take a look at it. So far, you guys are voting in the right way, which I like. Okay, so we asked you whether or not you think the city has gone too far, and so far 84% of you believe yes, the city has gone too far. Only 16% of you believe that it has not gone too far. But, of course, these are just early results, so you can go ahead and vote if you haven't done so already.
So, look, I know a lot of the TYT audience has guns, too, right? And some of our hosts have guns. So,
really?
Yeah, one of our hosts. But you don't know which one. No, okay. And so you want to protect yourself, you want to protect your home, you're super careful about it, or you like to go hunting, and you're earnest about it. Is that possible? Of course that's possible, okay? So I'm not mocking all gun owners, right? But the guys who want to bring it to the zoo, who are so convinced that they're going to be the hero of their own movie, I'm really, really worried about you, and you should understand why other people are concerned. Okay, that's my more rational answer than rather.
All right,
Danny Crockett, right? That's who am I thinking of? The Western thing. What am I?
Davy Crockett?
Davy Crockett.
I didn't know what you were talking about.
I was talking about Sonny Crockett and Davy Crockett.
Okay.
Anyway,
all right. I'm going to skip ahead to the robot story because I want to make sure that we have ample time to talk about it. It's my favorite story of the day. All right. A robot ethicist is going after sex robots, and she is saying that banning them is important if you care about real relationships. Now, this is Dr. Kathleen Richardson, and she is outraged that sex robots are in the middle of being developed, and they're trying to attach artificial intelligence to these robots so women would become obsolete. That's according to Richardson. Now, here's what she has to say. Sex robots seem to be a growing focus in the robotics industry, and the models that they draw on, how they will look, what roles they would play, are very disturbing indeed. We think that the creation of such robots will contribute to detrimental relationships between men and women, adults and children, men and men, and women and women.
Look, you just calm down, right?
No, look, I get it. Like, she's tripping, right? She's worried. She's like, but then what will happen to us, right? Because if men can have a robot that's not going to nag them about anything and will have sex with them whenever they want to have sex, why would they bother with us women? But
the way they want to have sex, by the way, that's another thing.
Right. Okay. So, sure, will women lose out on some men because they would rather be with robots? I guess. But I'm not going to ban sex robots because of that. Like, what? Can you imagine if men were trying to ban vibrators? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I am very happy in am very satisfied in my whole situation with my man, right?
Gotcha.
But I also love that vibrator.
Wow.
I don't think there's anything wrong with sex robots. She needs to calm the hell down. And also, think about the people who are lonely, right? And they have a really hard time establishing a relationship, and they want the comfort of something or someone. You're really going to deny them that sex robot?
Okay, so I have many things to say. David Levy made a really great point. He's the author of the book Love and Sex with Robots. He says, look, you're saying that it is demeaning to women to have the sex robots. Like Anna just pointed out, is it demeaning to men to have vibrators?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you would rather with a thing that is an inanimate object rather than deal with me as a human being in the flesh. Okay, just calm down. They're having a little fun. It's okay, and you got this, and they got that, and okay, and they get vibrators, we get sex robots. That's a pretty good deal, actually, if you ask me. So now the other thing is, it is inevitable. Okay, she's trying to stop the most unstoppable force in human history. It's like, oh, men, now we're going to create these things that that look like super hot women, that'll feel realistic, we're hoping, we're thinking, right? Because the robots now are a little creepy, right? And then they'll have sex with you in any way you like, but don't use them. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. All the luck in the world ain't going to help you, because whether you like it or not, men are definitely going to buy those things and use them. I mean, look, you put up that first picture. Right now, we're not there, right? The guy in the first picture we showed you looks a little sad. He's looking at it like, oh man, I got to get drunk to get with her, right? It's sad when you got to get drunk to be with your robot lover. She looks like out of a horror movie, if you ask me, right? Like, that would spook the hell out of me. Like, sleep there, right? So I prefer porn to that. But eventually, they're almost there, right? Eventually, they're going to make her look real and feel real. And when they do, it ain't nothing you can do in the world to stop it, right?
Right. So do you think that the development of realistic robots that have artificial intelligence will lead to a decrease in real relationships with actual women?
I actually kind of think it will.
Might.
Bit.
I don't know why I'm not worried about it. I think it's kind of
human beings. We're eventually going to have sex with one another. Okay, that's why you're not worried about it.
Yeah, that's why I'm not worried about it. Like, I think it's ridiculous to lose sleep at night over the competition from robots.
Yeah, I hear you. But the thing is, both things can be true.
Yeah.
Guys can use the robots, will use the robots. That doesn't mean they're going to stop having sex with real women. Now, could it decrease to some degree? Could it create some issues? Yeah, but anything could, right? Pollution could lead to that. I don't know, right? So you can't stop the world from spinning. Now, more things that are absurd here. So they say, she also complains that this will reinforce traditional stereotypes. Okay, no. It will reinforce whatever kind of sex the dude wants to have with a robot. I mean, will some dudes make the mistake of thinking, well, if I did that with a robot, I should be able to do that with a woman, and that's what she's good for? Yeah, but there are knucklehead dudes all over the world, right, who think that already. One of them is running for president. His name is Donald Trump, right? But most guys will understand, that's a robot I programmed to want to do that stuff, right? So that's not a real person. With a real person, I have to have a human interaction where there's a back and forth, right? And second of all, the company that's doing this, Chief Executive Douglas Hines from Roxy with 3 X's, very clever. No, not really, but anyway, he has a disingenuous comment about this is a solution for people who are between relationships, for someone who has lost a spouse. And we're not trying to replace a girlfriend or a wife. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's for that sometimes, right? But it's not like, I've got a humanitarian mission for people who have lost a spouse. You think only guys who lost a spouse are going to buy these robots? Yeah. No, single dudes are going to buy these. Married dudes are going to buy these robots, and then they're going to order them. When they send you a picture, God knows what that picture is going to look like. Okay, that's when it gets dangerous, right? When you find the robot that looks like your best friend in the closet.
I feel like if you're...
And then when your wife finds her best friend in the closet in a robot form, danger.
Okay, if it looks like your best friend, then I can see why a woman would flip out. I probably would not be amused by that. But I'm just thinking about what I would do if my husband brought home a $7,000 sex robot. That's how much they cost.
For now, that price will go down as we buy more.
Right. I don't know. You might be able to have some fun with that. Right? Like, you always wanted to have that threesome, right? Let's do it with the robot.
We have a deal. Okay. Now that's a future I can look forward to. Yeah, but like I said, everybody's opinions on this is entirely irrelevant because nothing will stop the male libido. If they can make them look realistic, $7,000 ain't gonna stop people. All the ethicists in the world aren't gonna stop people. I just can't stop laughing about the idea of a guy who's about to order a robot that looks like Halle Berry or whoever, right? Whoever they happen to like. They're like, on the other hand, ethicists said I shouldn't do this. Son. Ethicists.
I kind of feel bad for Dr. Kathleen Richardson. Like, she's worried, you know, maybe she has a husband. She's like, maybe my husband's gonna want the robot.
No, I mean, God bless her. She means well. She means
does,
well.
yes.
I'm sure she's a great person. It's just, there's some chance she's on the wrong side of history on this one.
Did you guys know that there was such thing as robot ethicists, though? There's some chance that she made that up.
I'm a chair ethicist. I'd like to impose my ethics on chairs.
I don't know why I find that funny.
Oh, the other thing is that the owner of the company says, no, it won't predominantly be for sex. These people, these robots can talk and they're going to have artificial intelligence. That's the whole point. People will mainly have conversations with them. I got bad news for you, Mr. Robot maker. Okay, they ain't paying $7,000 to talk to them. Man, that world is going to be trippy, man. Overall, here's what I have to say about it. See if I randomly find the right one.
No, you know what? This is how I believe.
No, I couldn't. I was trying to find. Can't wait. Anyways, all right, last story. Let's do the last story.
Really?
Yeah, I'm fascinated.
All right, let's
super
do it.
fascinated.
Recently, Chrissy Teigen made a statement that upset some women. She was talking about nannies and how she will not be hiring any attractive nannies for her household when she has children. So here's what she said. She said, it's an ongoing joke in my house. I do want to have kids one day, so it's something that I have to think about. But the rule is no hot nannies. I trust John, but you never know with these men. Now, a number of people were upset about this, including Elizabeth Kiefer from Refinery29. She wrote a post about this, and she was like, oh, what a terrible statement. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but basically she said, look, get with the times. Men can handle themselves. They're not dogs. Women can handle themselves. Let's have high standards. I remember that specific line. Well, that led to even more criticism. People were tweeting to Chrissy Teigen about this, and here's what she responded with. She said, just like low-carb diet of freaking chips, my no hot nannies comment was a joke, fairly lost upon many. What is life? Why must I type this? And she also said, hot nannies joke ruining my life. I will hire 2 hot nannies as penance.
I like her 1,000 times.
She's so funny. Okay, so she doesn't have to pretend like she's joking. Maybe she is joking. I don't know. But that's not a joke in my book. Like, I'm not going to hire a hot nanny. Are you crazy? I mean, Schwarzenegger couldn't even keep it in his pants when he had an unattractive nanny in the household. Okay, no nannies. Okay, it's going to be a man, and hopefully he'll double as a cabana boy. That's it.
Oh, so all of a sudden we got issues with hot nannies.
No.
Okay. So no. She's 100% right. I don't know why this is an issue. I don't know why what she said is offensive. I can't figure it out for the life of me.
Right.
I don't know why she has to pretend it's a joke. Of course you shouldn't hire a hot nanny. I mean, I'm incentivized to, since I've got kids, to say, no, honey. No, of course not. Hire the hot nanny. But look, there is a depth of experience here. Now, I luckily have never done anything, but not only Schwarzenegger, Ben Affleck, just in the news, right? Married to Jennifer Garner, irrelevant. The nanny, okay. Irrelevant, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? But, but look at us. Look at what I just did. Don't put hot nannies next to us. We're dangerous. Okay? So, she's 1,000% right. She should have gone over the top on it. Be like, oh, you know what? She's rich, I assume, right? She's famous, whatever, right? But you know what? You're right. My critic, okay, you're right. And you know what? I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to hire you a hot nanny. Okay? No, it's cool. I'll pay for 6 months of that nanny to come to your house. You want to play with fire, you might get burned.
By the way, it's her life, it's her money, it's her household. Shut up. She gets to make decisions, right? Like, criticizing her for refusing to hire an attractive nanny is so stupid. Like, who's getting into your household and telling you what to spend your money on?
Is this the issue of the day that we have to be concerned about? Like discrimination against really attractive young women?
Are hot people offended by this? Your life is so difficult.
Maybe we're not liberal enough, but I think the hot community is doing just fine on their own, right? Yeah. And I mean, but isn't it such a statement on men too that Christy Teigen, being that hot, is still worried about other hot people?
Well, it doesn't matter. Here's a reality. It doesn't matter how hot you are, how talented you are, how amazing you are as a woman or as a person. The reality is, after a while, you get very used to the person you're with, and you want some variety. That's human nature, which is why no fucking nannies. I don't care if you're attractive. I don't care if you're ugly. I'll do that shit on my own, or I'll get a family member to do it. That simple.
Okay, so she might be a little extreme.
I am.
And I get that, but what some people are upset about is, your assumptions about males are just disgusting. How can you say that men act that way? Come on, dude. Come on, man. Who are you kidding, man? Look at the entire history of humanity. You think men won't have sex with women in their proximate area, let alone super hot women in their proximate area, if they have the opportunity to? If you think men are that great, right, that they're, they were all of them, all men, filled with principle and would never do anything unethical like that.
You're in for a world of pain.
You really are. You have no idea how the world works. And good luck to you, because you're going to need it. Okay. Doesn't mean all men are dogs. It means don't give some men the opportunity to be dogs.
I don't even think it means that men are dogs. I think that it's human nature, and it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. God bless. That's the show we got for you guys today. We got a great member post game for you guys. Subscribe now. Rob me. Take the Madisol DVDs. I think you guys are going to clear us out. I'm serious. I don't know if we'll run out, in which case then we're going to stop the promotion early. Anyway. So at tytnetwork.com/subscribe. Bye-bye. Wednesday night, the Republicans are going to have another debate and another clown show. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know who you want to watch it with? Hello, us. Me, Anna, John, Jimmy, we're all going to be here. We're going to do play-by-play commentary. We're going to make fun of them. We're going to tell you the truth. And during the breaks especially, jump on over to TYT Network. On Wednesday night, the Republicans are going to have another debate and another clown show. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know who you want to watch it with?